Good afternoon, Eldorado Eagles. Thank you for joining me for yet another episode of Lunchtime Live, our weekly storytime broadcast. We have just a few of these left this school year, and I know a bunch of you have been joining me every single week, and I'm really appreciative of that, and I'm so glad you keep coming back. And I've been noticing that you've been checking out those books that we read during our Lunchtime Live when you come down to the library, and that makes me super happy too. So that tells me that you're enjoying the stories I'm choosing. So I love that. We are continuing our Maker May kind of theme for our stories this month. And remember, we're talking about creating and inventing and building, crafting, and just using our imaginations to create things and talk about creating things that make our lives better, that solve problems. Last week, we read the book Just Like Rube Goldberg, where we saw, where we learned a little bit about the guy who created all of those incredibly wacky machines, and that inspired a whole new generation of inventors who build kind of fun, silly machines like that. Today, we're going to read a book called The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. And I really love this book because it sort of talks about it kind of gets at a different angle, a different perspective about creating and inventing. Have you ever tried to make something or build something and it ended up being kind of harder than you expected? And maybe you got frustrated and wanted to give up and you just kind of walked away from it. That is something that our main character in the story experiences. But we also are going to see how she deals with that frustration, deals with those challenges, because ultimately, if you can work past those difficult moments, you can make amazing things. And that is what I really want you to take away from today's story and take away from our activities when you come down to the library soon for our Maker Playground, where you're going to have the opportunity to build and create some things down here in the library with the different tools we have. So I'm really excited for that. But I do know that sometimes that experience can be challenging. So I hope that you find some ideas in this book today that will help you work through those tricky moments as you create. So here is The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. This book is dedicated to all of the little perfectionists of the world. And I think that's a nice note there. Do you ever feel, are you the kind of person that feels like when you do something, it has to be perfect and everything has to come out just without any problems? I know that sometimes I'm like that, and I know a lot of people like that. And that's not a bad way to be, but sometimes it can get in the way of your creativity. And we want to be able to work through that when we are creating things. So I hope you enjoy this story. This is a regular girl and her best friend in the whole wide world. They do all kinds of things together. They race, they eat, they explore, they relax. She makes things, he unmakes things. One day, the girl has a wonderful idea. She is going to make the most magnificent thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. All she has to do is make it, and she makes things all the time. Easy peasy. First, she hires an assistant. Next, they gather their supplies. They set up somewhere out of the way and get to work. Not sure the middle of the sidewalk is the best place to be building, but the girl tinkers and hammers and measures, while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she is finished, she steps back to admire her work. She walks around one side. Her assistant examines the other side. It doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up and gives it a shake. It doesn't feel right either. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent or good. It isn't even kind of sort of okay. It is all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives it a nudge with his paw. The thing is still wrong. She decides to try again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She twists and tweaks and fastens. She fixes and straightens and studies. She tries all different ways to make it better. She makes it square. She makes it round. She gives it legs. She adds antennae. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long and short and rough and smooth and big and small. One even smells of stinky cheese, but none of them are magnificent. Her hard work attracts a few admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing that she has in her mind. She gets mad. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shapes. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Crunch. The pain starts in her finger. It rushes up to her brain, and she explodes. It is not her finest moment. I'm no good at this. I quit. Her assistant suggests a walk. It's not much help at first. You kind of see she's still feeling pretty down, right? But before long, she starts to feel different. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her head. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing she made. The bad feelings are about to start all over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on one, the shape of another, the wheel to seat ratio of the next. There are all sorts of parts that she likes. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. This is the perfect thing to ward off bears. This will stop that leak. This one's all wet. The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes. She alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. It leans a little to the left, and it's a bit heavier than expected. The color could use a bit of work too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They are not disappointed. It really is the most magnificent thing. The end. There are so many things that I love about this book. First, I really love that we get to see the creator, our main character's process. Because the little girl she would make a version of her idea and it didn't work. And she kept trying again. She kept remaking it and going through that process and trying different designs and tweaking and adjusting is a good thing. That is how we make improvements on our designs and we get closer and closer to our idea coming to life, right? But we also saw that she got pretty frustrated and ended up even hurting herself because she let her frustration get in the way. But what actually helped her be successful in the end? It was taking a little bit of a break, taking a couple of steps back, and looking at her work with fresh eyes. She was able to see that even though none of her designs were perfect, there were some really amazing things in each one. And she was able to take those good things from each one and create the perfect final product. And it may not be perfect, but it was perfect enough for her because it represented her idea. And that is the lesson of this book, that it's okay to not be perfect. And it's okay to make mistakes when you try things out. But if we can take a step back, slow down, look at our work, and try to find the good things, we can make amazing things. And friends, when you come down in a couple of weeks for our Maker Playground, that is the mindset that I want you to have. That you don't have to be perfect, but if you keep trying and maybe you work together with somebody else really well and you have an idea and you do your best to put it together, you are going to be successful and you might even make your most magnificent thing. So thanks so much for joining me today. I will see you very soon. Have a good day.